Well, we're saving for college a certain number every month. Our monthly budget, we have sinking funds set up, and the sinking funds are for what? Like taxes, for retirement savings, and college fund. Those are kind of the big ones. Yeah.
And in case people don't know, there's 2 college funds. We have two kids that are getting very close to, like, one is going to college next year and the other one in 2 years.
What we're doing is finding out that college doesn't cost what we thought it was going to.
Well, we knew what in-state tuition would be,
right.
But as soon as you get out of state, there's a big jump.
What was the system that we agreed to develop the savings plan?
Well, in the first place?
Yeah.
In the first place, we looked at how much it would cost for them to go to an in-state school, and then we, figured out how much we would have to save per month to contribute to those accounts.
And we told both the kids.
We told them, yep. It's very abstract to them.
Sure, yeah, but I mean, was the operating system that we were using to save, and also we balance what we're earning, and where all of our dollars are going in the budget. And so we had this meeting a month ago, 2 months ago, maybe?
Yeah, and I think the frustration for you was I was just coming and saying, we need to save this much more.
We need to double what you wanted to double it.
And I didn't come with a plan, an associated plan for how we would do that. So you just saw it as like, okay, that's how much I have to make that much more money every month.
That's my responsibility.
That's my responsibility. And you're just coming and asking me. And so it wasn't, I mean, I think I wasn't saying to you, I expect you to figure out how to make it happen. But because I didn't have a plan on paper, you felt that way. So, but still you agreed to it. But I think you kind of tucked it away as another stressor.
Yes.
But
also one that I felt was a little bit unnecessary, because we both agreed we want the kids to have skin in the game.
And they will. Either way, they're going to have, if they go to an in-state school, it's covered, but they're probably not going to, right? So they're going to go to an out-of-state school, they're going to have skin in the game, and it was more about how much debt are we comfortable with them having when they get out of school. And, there was a tipping point for me. I thought, okay, well, the cheapest out-of-state school that I've looked at so far is going to require that when they get out of school, that they would have like $50,000 in debt.
We had this conversation and an agreement, and then I was like, oh man, that just feels like a big ask. We kind of circled back to it more informally. We haven't had a formal meeting since we talked about that last. We had some couch conversations where I just said, this is how I'm feeling right now. I'm feeling like that burden is on me to come up with it. And then you produced this very detailed spreadsheet showing the breakdown and
where the money could come from.
And then also a plan.
Yeah.
Which required no extra input from me. I have to say, I really appreciated that. And honestly, the more time I sat with it, I did feel like we probably owe our kids
a little more.
A little more.
Yeah.
And you showed it to me with a spreadsheet and numbers, and that just inherently feels more data driven, and like I can relate to that more. Yeah. And I don't know if other people, I mean, you don't get to see into other people's kind of financial lives. You know?
And I had kind of like just gone through a rough thing in my head about it, and it helped me to have it on paper too, because I did realize that we have this period of time while they're in school where I could find the money in our budget.
Right.
And it wouldn't necessarily require, and that didn't require that you increase how much you're making right now and how much you're saving right now. I mean, I know that we're still trying to save it now, but we don't have to.
Yeah. That helped take the pressure off of it. At least just having options, So I guess if other people are struggling with that and convincing a spouse, and I know Jason was like this too, Jason and Lori, having some kind of document that says, here, I've done some thinking about this, and these are the contingencies, or this is 3 possible ways forward. That I did find that universally helpful. And I think you are given confidence by, like, when I think about the research that you're doing, like, you always are given more confidence when you see more data.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And and it's actually funny how I didn't treat it that way in the first place. But yeah, and I think it's nice that we can actually talk about money that way, because when we were first married, when we were first together, we didn't have very many conversations about money. And when we did, I felt emotional about it. Like sometimes it felt emotionally charged when we talked about money, and the solution was to just try to make more so we don't have to like dig into the details.
Yeah.
You know, like true. I don't think, and I know other people who the most difficult thing in their relationships is to talk about is money, because maybe you don't agree on what you're spending money on.
Right.
When you look at the budget, people feel defensive if one person questions what another one is spending. And we've gotten over that, I think, long ago. But I remember when I felt that way anyway. I don't know.
I mean, we just had a conversation last week about, you're going to go on this trip with one of your friends. Yeah. And you said, what's the freeboard budget on this? Like, what can I spend? And I was like, I don't know, whatever. I mean, are you going like to Monaco or something?
No, we're going to Minneapolis.
Minneapolis. I'm like, what the hell?
And like, I'm looking at Minneapolis, like hotels, they're so cheap. Sorry, anyone from Minneapolis, but it is cheaper than it's cheaper than New York.
Well, yeah, go to all the Minneapolis trips you want.
Yeah.
But we hadn't really put bounds on it. You and I have both been listening to the Ramit Sethi has this new podcast called I Will Teach You to Be Rich, and it brings couples in kind of like this, and they kind of expose their money issues, I guess you could say. And some of them are pretty striking, very emotional. And one of the topics that we recently listened to was, one spouse is spending more than another, which is not an uncommon situation. And we were just kind of chatting about that. And given this trip that you're taking and I'm taking a trip too. And,
yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, we talked because one of the techniques he frequently uses is he helps them talk through the idea of what's the amount of money that you can spend that's not going to be a big deal.
It won't impact your financial picture at all.
Right. Based on, and so the couples were identifying those amounts of money.
So what did we come up with?
I don't think we came up with one, but I thought, that's a really useful technique. I wish that we had talked about that earlier in our marriage maybe, because I don't think that we were great savers early on. No. We didn't really start saving money until we wanted to buy or build a house. And I think that was the first time where we were really focused on saving. Like you and I were not focused on saving before that. I think when you're not making a lot of money, you kind of feel like, well, I can't save anything anyway. So you had a retirement account actually, but I was still in graduate school and I was making like $16,000 a year in a stipend. Like I didn't have any money at all.
Wow. Yeah.
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 But anyway, we didn't really decide on what that number would be. So what would your number? I mean, what would it be? What do you think? What amount of money can I spend each month where you're not going to worry about it?
I mean,
outside of our regular budget.
I just trust you. You and I have lived with this operating system so long. I just trust you to, like, if it were a big expenditure, like a couple of $1,000s, you'd say, oh, I'm thinking about doing this. You would just naturally do that. And I don't think I would be, like, that wouldn't surprise me. And I think if it happened every month that you were buying a $3,000 something, I would be surprised.
That would be crazy.
That would be crazy. Yeah. And I don't do that either. Yeah. So I don't know, maybe we should put bounds around it, but at the same point, like, we don't budget either. So
what do you mean we don't budget? Yes, we do.
We do a monthly budget?
I mean, what do you mean do one? I mean, we've had one.
Okay, what are utilities a month?
We know what it is.
I don't know what it is. I don't budget. I don't think we budget. I mean, because if we budgeted, we would say, oh, geez, the food bill is higher than it was last month. I don't know what the food bill was last month. Do you?
It was like $1,200.
Oh my God. Maybe we should.
We have 2 teenage boys. Our grocery bill per week is like $300. I feel good if I walk out of the grocery store having spent $280, like I've saved something. So.
Well, I guess my point is, this is working for us. If this were a point of conflict and you were like taking 10 trips a year by yourself and I'd be like, wow, like, is that adding up to some like real money? Like, what are we doing here? Or why does she want to be away from me so much? No, I don't know.
Okay, so we don't need to do
what's
that.
your number?
We don't need to do that.
I mean, what do you think?
How much money would I be comfortable with you spending per month?
Yeah.
I mean,
I think you spend $500 easy a month.
I think if you spent $1,000, $2,000, I don't think I'd worry about it.
Month?
I don't know if you would do it though.
I just think, no, I wouldn't. I really wouldn't, because the way our budget's set up right now, when we have these financial meetings and we look at our FI sinking funds, every dollar really does have a job. And so spending the extra is like, well, where's that coming from? And I feel like that's been a great, real refocusing point for me personally. But I don't know if it's the healthiest thing to do.
Well, you don't have any of those crazy hobbies that some people have, you know, like antique cars or, you know, antique motorcycles. I don't know why I'm picking those kinds of things, but not that you would.
Your dad had those model airplanes, which are like
that's a pretty expensive
planes
hobby.
The size of a trailer that you actually have to put in a trailer.
Well, not anymore. Now he's retired and now he can't afford them anymore.